I'm a strong believer in the importance of representation, especially accurate representation. And so right now, if we look in the media space, whether it be commercials, literature, news reporting, anything you see out there, when it's got a black subject, either you're poor, needy, coming from a poor country, or you're centered around like discovery, wildlife, and rituals. And it's a very simplistic and narrow place to put people in. And so what then happens is if people around you see you like that, see people who look like you out there, and then you're visibly different, they treat you with those preconceived notions. And then what that means is that society is experiencing you in a pigeonhole, but also you're experiencing society through a pigeonhole. And so that's why I wanted to explore the African narrative, the motivation of actually saying, you know what, like these are our stories, so we should have the right and the ownership to tell them in their most accurate manner possible. When we think about ourselves as women, we always put into a box. Everyone's like, you're a woman, so if you're like this, then you're in this box. And the reality is we're multifaceted, we're complex beings. And so being able to pick what medium we produced was kind of in a way empowering. It was like, actually like, this is who I am, this is my story, this is the medium that I want to put out there. So it removes that whole like putting you in a box or putting you in a shell. It helps you to deconstruct and literally break down that box and put yourself where you want to be placed. Secondly is because as African youth, like people think Africa's a country, and we have this whole homogenous identity class like put upon us. So and it's saying, yes, of course, while we do have like a millennia of like shared history and shared culture and all that stuff, we're actually really, really different from each other. Each and every single person, even if you place me next to another Zimbabwean woman, same age as me, even born the same day, same city, we're so different. So being able to put out different mediums gives us like different ways to place our voices. It gives us different ways to actually show the diversity of us as African youth living in New Zealand. So that's why I kind of opted for multiple mediums instead of just one thing.
What's it like for you seeing all these youth owning their narratives and telling their stories in their own mediums?
It's really beautiful. For me, I actually can't even describe it, and I feel like trying to describe it kind of like diminishes or minimizes the experience or how I feel about it. I find it really powerful. I find it empowering. I find it inspiring. I think it's healing. I think it's transformative. I think it's revolutionary, especially revolutionary, because like for so long, world that, I say that in a world that demonizes people that look like you or people that are like you, the best tool of resistance is to be comfortable with yourself or to own your own story. So when I see the youth out there owning their own stories and narratives, I'm like, fuck yeah, stick it to the man. It's the most revolutionary thing ever. So yeah, and amongst all those feelings, I think the one that stands out the most is I think it's really revolutionary. That's how it makes me feel. When I saw all females, I was like, yes, because the reality is on the food chain of life, it's white men, white women, black men, black women. And I was like, if I'm gonna do something about African identity, who else more knows the experience of being a woman, carrying that one thing on the sexist side of things, but then being black, racism? And I was like, whoa, this is perfect. So I feel like in the sense of like the outputs that have come out or the discussions we had, I think I was able to dig even more deeper. I always say I'm in the business of healing self-work. So it's like how do we then heal that narrative? How do we change that narrative? How do we shift it? So it means that from every stage of this process, from naming it to the themes, to the outputs, to how it's going to go out into the world, the universe, it's all done like actively. And then, Ubuntu says that, all for one, one for all, or as we say in Shona, which says, I am because we are. So that definitely means that, participation is the center of everything we do. So I feel like we've kind of moved into this whole individualistic society, and that's so dangerous because when we move into a place of centering the individual, we remove the communal aspect of it. But within community, that's where connection comes from, and we need connection to survive. Like that's how our human ecosystem works, by connection. So that's why I opt for. In other places, like the racism is like very, very like in your face, whereas over here it's like it's been embedded so systematically that like you you actually feel crazy when like you have this experience. I talk a lot in the research about microaggressions and how like they're so subtle, but like in New Zealand they've become so normalized. I mean, like we call it casual racism. Like seriously, what's so casual about racism? So that also in itself is like a unique challenge. The fact that like we won't even acknowledge that we actually are a very racist country, you know? Yeah, and it's very subtle. Like it's kind of creepy sometimes. You're like, does this person like me? Do they not? Like, and you just constantly like, and I noticed when I came back home, I my level of confidence kind of dropped a little bit. I was like, whereas in Australia, I was like, yeah, you don't like me, it's cool. Like, I'm just gonna walk straight past you. You don't like me, I don't like you, it's cool. I know where I stand. But over here, it's like real, like, you know, and you're like, I went to a very multicultural school. So like we had kids from all over the world. So growing up, I never really, like, I knew I was black, but I knew that I kind of thought that like everybody was different and that was the way life was. And then I moved here, first day of school, this girl's like, I'm not gonna play with you because you're black. And I was like, wow, like what? So it's like you're like 10, 11 and you're like peeping this, you're living in Wellington and Upper Hutt in 2003, there's like no one else there. And so yeah, I would say that was my first ever experience with racism. I dedicated this whole research to like, I call them the baby mamas. And those are all the women that have come before me. So that's my mother, that's my grandmother, that's my great-grandmother, and that's all our ancestors. And I say because for so long, like our tongues have been cut off and shoved back in our mouths. It's like this is like hopefully like an inspiration to like take that tongue out again and do it. I say it's for the heroes and sheroes, you know, who left home and no home could no longer house us anymore. I hope that this is for us. I hope in seeing these stories, you can see an element of yourself that you can connect to, something, or you can see something that inspires you, or something that just, you know, makes your day easier in this process. Because, you know, this process of decolonizing, of settling into a new place, it's never ending. So I'm really hoping that with this, we can do that.